This is Rants from a Crazy Gen Xer. My name's Natalie, and I am your Crazy Gen Xer. We're going to talk about immigration here a bit today. Okay. There's a lot of chatter everywhere going with Donnie the Holocauster, the president of war there, sending off military to cities that are controlled by Democrats, which is the two-party system. And then we're going to get into this too. The two-party system is designed to keep us, the people, divided. Okay. The whole thing with immigration, and it really does irk me. Okay. Because both Democrats and Republican donors and elected officials use the undocumented immigrant slave labor. And I'm going to call it slave labor because the truth of the matter is that it is slave labor. They use these people's immigration status to pay them less money. Okay. I guarantee you a lot of us felt a certain way finding out that Goodwill is allowed and does hire disabled people for like $2.50 an hour. Okay. It is literally slave labor like that. That's slave labor too. And yes, it enrages me. Okay. Now back to this whole thing, the whole immigration thing. This is all for show. Okay. Donnie the Holocauster, he wants war within the United States, okay? And the truth of the matter is that neither the Democrats nor the Republicans will ever fix our immigration problem. And we do have an immigration problem, okay? For one, Republican farmers use slave labor to harvest and plant and harvest their crops, okay? We all benefit from it because we're all eating commercial farm food. When we go to the store, 90% of what you get is commercial farm food, okay? These are big, huge commercial operations. This isn't your local farmer, okay? Let's just be very clear on that. Your local farmer gets very little help from the government and probably could use your help, your local help, okay, to prep them up. But let's go back to this for a second, okay? They both use it. Neither one of them have ever fixed it. Neither one of them have a desire to fix it. I remember when Bill Clinton was in office, Republicans were screaming about the immigration and how bad it was. And then George Bush got into office and the Democrats were it goes back and forth. Neither one of them have a desire to fix any of our immigration problem. Okay. Our immigration problem, okay, comes from the fact that we do not have a system that is easy and cheap to use. Okay. So maybe the government should say these jobs can use, immigration employment, okay? So whatever it is, these farms can use it, maybe this winery over here can use it, or maybe this country club over there can use it. I don't know. But the reality is maybe some of these things can be looked at and we can say, okay, these things, they can use it. And then maybe people either sign up for it online and then fly in and work and then go home, or maybe they show up at the border and they all want to go to a farm together and they say, we are all here, and they look at the books and see who has spots left. I mean, we live in a digital age. There's no need to have all this complication. Okay. That's my personal belief on that, because some of the people coming here, okay, when I say undocumented immigrants, like I don't want them here, I'm not talking about the asylum seekers, okay? People who have gotten approval from the government to claim asylum and they're here legally, I do not consider them undocumented, okay? Maybe some people do. I personally don't. I have a different feeling on that. I feel like we need to take the ones who want to come here for work and find that system for them. And we open up our asylum system for people who are truly seeking asylum. because they're afraid of their government. You know, I distinctly remember a trans woman waiting at the border during 2020, I guess, somewhere around in there, like 2020, waiting at the border, and she was murdered waiting, okay, for her turn. But the thing is that she wasn't able to break through this asylum system because there's so overwhelming amounts of people claiming asylum. And a lot of them here are not claiming asylum because they fear that. They're claiming this because this is the way they can come into the country, they can work for a few years, and then they get their deportation papers and they go home. And they help their family with the money that they made here. I mean, we should find a better way for that system. I know back in the 80s during like the Reagan era and stuff, people were talking about how, oh, they're taking our money and going and taking our money out of the country. The first thing of it is, I mean, listen, Donnie the fucking Holocauster just sent 20 billion of our dollars to a foreign country to bail them out who is in direct competition with our soybean farmers who, because of the tariffs, are having a hard time selling their soybeans. So, I mean, we can sit here and we can say, oh, well, this, and that. But the truth of the matter is it's not. I'm sick and tired of some of that shit. Okay, we have to get over that. But the government will never fix our problem because they want us fighting. Okay, as long as we fight each other, as long as you see your Republican or Democrat neighbor as your enemy, then we are never going to be able to unite and to fight them and to have the country we want. And that is really where we need to be. We need to sit here and think. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. Your Republican or Democrat neighbor is not your enemy. They are your friend, not your foe. Okay? Your elected representatives are 90% going to be your enemy. Their donors are your enemy as well. Okay? These rich people are not here for us. They do not care about us. They have fought the government and bought the government and gotten everything that they wanted so that they could pay us less, so that we have a decrease in lifestyle, so that they can have more money than they can ever spend in 50 million lifetimes. And that's the reality. They do not care about us. And until we get that through our thick skulls and we fucking are able to come together as one, this problem will never be fixed in our country. We have so many problems. But I did want to point out the whole thing with this immigration is a great way of dividing us, okay? Because look at it. You got people, you know, attacking ICE and the ICE agents because they're so partisan and hate. They hate their fellow citizens. 90% of the people in charge of like the ICE people, they hate their fellow citizens. A lot of the cops hate their fellow citizens. A lot of people just hate their fellow citizens. It's like, we're not each other's enemy. You know, I remember that part in the Hunger Games where that one guy says to her, Katniss, remember who the real enemy is. The reality is we need to remember who the real enemy is too. Because the truth of the matter is that your neighbor is not your enemy. Your government's your enemy. And until we get that through our heads and we're able to come together and put aside petty differences, I don't care why you don't want to send money to Israel. I don't care if it's because like Marjorie Taylor Greene and she don't really like Israel for reasons or whatever. That may not be the same reason that I don't want to send my money to them. But we can come together and say we just shouldn't be giving our money to them. We also probably shouldn't be funding, you know, other little pet projects like Argentina or anything. In fact, the government shouldn't be giving any money to anybody out of the country, okay? Our money should be spent on our people. Can you imagine how much shit we would have? We would have housing for all of our homeless people. We would be able to put our people through inpatient treatment centers so they can detox and get off of the drugs and get better, okay? I don't believe in the methadone clinics. I don't think that that's a good, people say Suboxone. I have no clue what, if that's kind of like, I'm guessing kind of like methadone. Maybe I'm old school and I don't know the new drugs coming off the market for any of that, because I really don't. But I know that nobody ever really got off of methadone. And in fact, they went right back to heroin due to the fact that even if they had aspirin in their system, they were denied the methadone. Okay, and these people are addicted. Okay, they need to be taken out into the woods where they have no contact with anybody for a good week or two, so that they have, or locked in a building like in treatment facility, that works too. Okay, where they have no contact with anybody, so that they cannot get out, and they have to stay there, and they have to get off these drugs. Okay, and yeah, we can use our system, our legal system, to tell these people, you either go to treatment or you go to jail. And 90% of the time they're going to choose the treatment. Okay, but we would be able to fund this if we were not funding war everywhere around the world. You got war with Ukraine, you got the wars that, okay, the terrorist nation of TikTok, since we're going to start using that instead, have started war with everybody around them. They're like at war with 7 different countries and Palestine, who are the indigenous people to the land. And the United States taxpayer is funding all of this. We're the ones pouring all the money into it. At the beginning of the year, I broke it down to see how much money we had spent in the last year, year and a half, whatever it was. And it had been $70 billion. And that includes money, because we're constantly giving money to Egypt and Jordan to be nice to Israel. We're sending all kinds of other stuff over to them. It's the whole thing of it all. I mean, all the stuff we did in Syria. I mean, it's hundreds of billions of dollars. Let's sit there and say, oh, it's only $3.5 billion a year. Well, maybe that is on the surface. But the reality, the real cost of it is a lot more. Okay? And I'm sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. We just want to stop that, you know. And so, like I said, they're not going to fix immigration, no matter what they tell you. This is all for show, and it is to create, and maybe, you know, Donnie, the fucking Holocauster there, wants a civil war within the United States. Maybe he's just trying to figure out a way to declare martial law so that he can lock down the country and deny us our freedom so that we aren't able to vote anymore. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past him, okay? This is probably I swear to God, he is the worst president that I have ever had in my lifetime. And I'm nearly 50, okay? I was born during Carter's reign. Okay, so I hate to like say this to people, but we have to start thinking about putting aside this shit and stop it with that. Okay, I know there's people out there who think of him like a god, and I'm sorry for you people. I really am, but he's not. There's a lot of people who did vote for him who are seeing the bigger picture right now, you know. But the thing is that you shouldn't want to harm your fellow citizen. Okay? You shouldn't. Under any circumstances, you shouldn't. And the immigration thing, I agree with you. We have a problem with it, and it does need to get fixed. But the people in charge of it aren't fixing it. They're never going to fix it. They haven't fixed it in 55 plus years. I mean, they're never going to do it. So we have to think of something different. We have to have a better plan. And going ahead and declaring war upon Venezuela is only going to create more migrants. Just a little FYI on that. Okay? And maybe we shouldn't be bombing civilian boats off the coast of another country. How would you feel if that was happening to us? You know, how are we somehow superior to anybody else around the world? We're not. You know? And so we need to stop with this and stop with this fighting with each other. Okay? And that is what I'm going to say about that. We need to stop it and stop fighting with each other. Because the truth of the matter is that we all live here. We're going to live here. Nobody's leaving, and this is how it is, and we have to find a way to get along. And our government keeps poking at us so that we can't rise up against them. We need a regime change. We need help here in the United States, not all these other countries. We are the terrorists around the world. We go to other countries, we terrorize them, and we murder their children and then expect them to what? Be so grateful that we murdered their children? Can you imagine how you would feel if a foreign nation came in and started bombing your neighborhood and killed your loved ones? You wouldn't be so happy with them either. So maybe let's think about that. Anyways, rants from a Gen Xer. My name's Natalie, and I'm your crazy Gen Xer.